had the privilege of working with Cathy for almost 20 years now and of seeing her become who she is today, one of the most extraordinary leaders of our movement, someone who has transformed our movement in ways that will have a positive impact on LGBTQ people and their families for generations to come. Of all the things I could say about Cathy, her brilliance, her eloquence, her humility, the fact that she knows more about LGBTQ family law than anyone else in the country, what really stands out to me is her ability to identify the key institutions and structures that had the biggest impact on the most number of people in our community, including those who are most marginalized, and of finding ways to change those institutions in ways that make them radically more equitable and more inclusive. So please join me and the National LGBT Bar Association in honoring and applauding Cathy for decades of extraordinary work.
Cathy and I first met and began working together almost 15 years ago. We had been law clerks at NCLR and then law fellows supported by the organizations. Cathy and I really shared a deep awareness that we needed to approach the expansion of civil rights and justice for LGBTQ people in a way that truly acknowledged the diversity in our community, the struggles that were the product of racism and poverty, as much as they were rooted in homophobia or transphobia. Cathy has had the intellect, the work ethic, and a fulsome vision of justice that has really propelled her to make multiple profound contributions to our movement, to family law, and simultaneously to ensuring that our civil rights work would have a meaningful positive impact for working class, low-income people, and for people of color in LGBTQ plus communities. Cathy is a leader who is regularly asking herself, is our work going to make a difference for a queer person getting by on a low-wage job, for a queer person who's living in a rural community, who's an immigrant, who is rebuilding their life after being incarcerated? Because of Cathy, we have made meaningful progress across the country in expanding legal aid for LGBTQ plus people. Cathy has helped bring into our movement conversations and strategies a deeper commitment to fighting racism and economic inequality. Cathy has led with the understanding that those structural problems are interwoven with the homophobic and transphobic policies that have weighed down our communities, and they need to be confronted together in our legal, policy, and public education work. We are all better off because of Cathy's consistency and the clarity in her values and the creativity in the LGBTQ civil rights work that she has helped lead for so many years. For these reasons, this Dan Bradley Award for Cathy is so incredibly well-deserved, and it's wonderful that she is being awarded it this year. Congratulations, Cathy.
Cathy is the very best of our LGBTQ plus legal movement. She keeps us grounded in the transformational power of a legal system to redress wrongs, to heal the harmed, to do equity. Cathy is a creative thinker and always keeps her eyes on the most vulnerable among us to ensure that no one gets left behind in the march toward full lived equality. Those of us privileged to be in the NCLR inner orbit have known this for years. So to see Cathy join the pantheon of brilliant legal minds that are Dan Bradley awardees is so freaking fabulous. Mazel tov, Cathy. Thank you for devoting your life to this work. So many are so blessed for it.
Congratulations to Cathy Sakimura on winning the Dan Bradley Award. Cathy deserves to join that pantheon of LGBTQ heroes who have been previously recognized with the bar's most prestigious award. Most impressively, Cathy has broadened the scope and breadth of our movement. Initially, 30 plus years ago, when we established the Bar Association, we were fighting for the rights of gay men and lesbians. Fueled by Cathy's passion for justice and equality, she has pressed us to recognize and fight for other parts of our community and those way beyond our original definition. Cathy teaches us and reminds us that our fight includes the fight for people of color, transgender people, gender non-binary people, indigenous people, people suffering from trauma, people with less financial resources, people physically challenged or with mental infirmities. Cathy brings to this work an encyclopedic knowledge of the intricacies and nuances of family law. People throughout the United States and internationally, journalists, lawyers, scholars, and everyday folk turn to Cathy for information and guidance. She carries out this work with a passion conveyed with grace and a delightful charisma that is awe-inspiring. We pay attention when Cathy speaks. She balances her roles: wife, mother, daughter, advocate, lawyer, friend, manager, and compassionate human being. It's amazing to watch. Congratulations, Cathy.
Thank you so much to the bar for this incredible honor. It's a great privilege to be recognized among such an amazing group of past awardees who have shaped our movements and the rights of LGBTQ people. Thank you so much to Lisa, Bill, Shannon, and Liz for your kind and generous words and for being partners with me on our work toward true family equality. I want to share this honor with the LGBTQ parents who put everything on the line for their children and for all of our families, whose incredible strength and vulnerability in challenging discriminatory laws and sharing their stories has allowed us to change the world. I want to thank all the amazing pro bono, legal aid, and other movement attorneys and activists who have taught me so much and have created so many of the rights that our families enjoy. In particular, Professor Courtney Jocelyn, whose volunteer work establishing parentage protections for LGBTQ people is largely unrecognized, and without whom I never could have done this work. Finally, thank you to the National Center for Lesbian Rights for embracing an intersectional feminist approach to LGBTQ justice, and for always looking for ways to do better and lift up the needs of communities who've not been heard. 17 years ago, I was a law student intern at NCLR answering helpline calls. I was struck by how few resources there were for LGBTQ parents who couldn't afford to hire an attorney. When I had the chance to work with NCLR to develop an Equal Justice Works Fellowship, I wanted to focus on the needs of low-income LGBTQ families of color, who were unaddressed by most advocacy. This fellowship showed me how important it is to create lived equality, and how a statute or a case establishing rights does little to help families if it's not accessible and well implemented. In 2006, when I started this work at NCLR, the marriage equality movement was starting to make real progress, although much of that work showcased middle-class white same-sex couples. The visibility of these families helped challenge the misconception that LGBTQ people are harmful to children, and instead showed that our relationships and families are real and worthy of protection. This stereotype persists, however, because comparing our families to a white middle-class ideal can never truly erase it. Black, Indigenous, and POC LGBTQ parents are still seen as harmful and separated from their children by the so-called child welfare system at alarming rates. And these families are less able to access the protections we have fought so hard to achieve. We have so much to do to address racism and anti-Blackness in our movements and to make our work truly about eliminating the oppressions our community face. Talking about racism and poverty as an attorney of color in the LGBTQ legal movement in 2006 was challenging, and it still is. But through this work, I learned that by centering the experiences and needs of families of color, we could begin to create new parentage laws that truly serve all families. We can do the same with all of our work. It has been my great privilege to be part of this movement in a time of such incredible advances. We've made so much progress, but we have so much more to achieve before every family is fully recognized by the law and has the support they need to thrive. I'm here with all of you, ready for this challenge. Thank you.